Good day, everyone. This is Jeanette Jordy with Global Inspiration. Today, we're so lucky to have a special guest with us. Her name is Charisa Stauffacher. She is the founder of Regeneration International and a committed and active advocate of human trafficking. The thing is, it is 7 o'clock in the morning in America, and it's 8 o'clock in the evening in the Philippines. And before we will proceed to the interview process, I would like to remind our viewers to click on the subscribe button below and then click also the bell button. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud to introduce Charisa Stauffacher. Good morning, good evening, Charisa.
Good morning, Janet. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show.
Thank you very much. I understand that you were born in America. Can you give us more details as to where you're from or your family are coming from?
Sure. I was born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin, and all my family is still there today. And now I'm in the Philippines.
Okay, thank you very much. So I know you founded Regeneration International, which is fighting, the purpose is fighting against human trafficking. Can you share us, when did it start? When did you start putting it together?
Sure. Well, the first time I came to the Philippines was actually in 2012. I began learning about human trafficking in 2010 at a women's conference. And that's really when it was on my heart to do something about it. A friend invited me to the Philippines in 2012. I went there and I was introduced to the work of fighting against human trafficking, working at a shelter for a few months. And ever since then, I've just been involved. And Regeneration actually was founded in 2018 as a 501c3 nonprofit based in Wisconsin, but the majority of our work is in the Philippines.
So that's what prodded you to start Regeneration International, because you attended a convention, correct?
Yeah, and also because the Philippines is a top global source of child pornography. And so a lot of child sexual abuse materials are being spread out through the world, actually, based in the Philippines.
I understand you sold your car, you quit your job, and you moved to the Philippines. How long was that? Was that last year?
So I graduated from college with my bachelor's in counseling, and then after that I got a job which I absolutely loved, and I was working there for 2 years. And right after that, I kind of knew at one point I was going to be more permanent in the Philippines, or more full-time, you could say, in the Philippines, but I never realized how soon that was going to be. And so 2018, we were working from afar with people in the Philippines, doing the work of fighting human trafficking. And then I felt the call to come to the Philippines in 2019, January 2019. So in December, I gave my 2 weeks notice, and that was that. And so it was kind of a big leap of faith for me, but in the end, it worked out very well. So
even though I am in America, I am saying, welcome to the Philippines. So I understand that Regeneration International, your purpose being there is to build a shelter. Can you tell more about the building of the shelter? But you cannot build a shelter unless you have a land first. You have to have a land, then build a shelter. Can you tell more about that?
that's correct. Actually, in 2019, we fundraised like crazy just to build this, or to find a lot in Laguna in the Philippines, so that we can service children that are being trafficked, because there's a lot of children, especially when COVID hit, it's increased by 300% online sexual abuse of children. And so what we're doing is trying to meet those needs, because there's a lot of children that are being rescued, but there's not a lot of resources for them, especially even boys. So our shelter will be specifically for boys, but we're hoping in the future to also maybe open up a girls shelter as well. But the focus is mostly to meet the need right now. So.
Okay. That's, for me, it's puzzling to know that the shelter is actually for boys, created first for boys, and then maybe girls in the future. That's good.
Well, actually, there is a high number of boys. Unlike what most people would think, there's a high number of boys that are being trafficked as well. So, but the problem is all the first currently are catered specifically girls. So what we're trying to do is kind of counteract that so that the boys don't have to go into the foster care system, or they don't have to go into another cycle of abuse. And we want to be able to provide a shelter, care, and comfort and restoration for those boys to be able to be healed and continue to flourish in their life.
Okay, so you will build a shelter, but you need money. So what I know fundraising really helps a lot, the money that you raise. Can you share with us what are your previous fundraising events and your future fundraising events?
So we've done online fundraisers. We actually usually we host an annual fundraiser in the summertime, and this year we weren't able to do that because of limitations with COVID. However, we do want to start doing maybe another online fundraiser again. We were involved with the Ironman race, different other uh, programs that were helping other organizations fundraise, and that really worked out well. But again, those were all canceled this year too. So
Because of COVID?
probably
Is that because of COVID?
that's right, because of COVID. So this year we're hoping, okay, let's not let that stop us. We're gonna try to do something online. So that's gonna be our next project, is to fundraise for the shelter by using our online platforms, which is actually gonna be mostly through Facebook. So.
And I know I have been supporting a lot of fundraising events of Regeneration International. Something is better than nothing. Even though a simple thing, it helps. I am puzzled. You are doing this human trafficking in the Philippines. What are the challenges that you faced or you are currently facing as far as raising money or anything in the organization?
I think coming from the US and then you come into the Philippines, you see a big contrast. For
Mm-hmm.
example, with poverty, I would say even
Mm-hmm.
something you would consider to be poverty in the US uh, is maybe the normal way of living in the Philippines in some
Correct.
cases.
Correct.
I don't want to stereotype everyone, but it's a big contrast. So the shock factor of that is really intense and was a little bit hard to adjust to understand that there are people literally in need all around you. And so just to see that every single day and to see people, here there's a lot of typhoons that hit, and for a lot of people here, that's just normal to have their house knocked down and have to start all over from scratch. And to me, that's devastating that that's the normal way of living. And so that was pretty challenging for me. And of course, also seeing the devastation with human trafficking here, the fact that children are being trafficked, and that's everywhere. But here, there's just is so limited in resources. They're doing a lot of work though here. The Philippines is a tier 1 country, which means that they're trying to change laws. They're doing a lot of things to try to help these children, but there's still a huge lack of resources. And so I think that has been the biggest challenge for me, seeing that from coming from the US to here.
Yeah, because in the Philippines, when you say you are poor, you are not eating, you don't have house, you don't have car, because for us, car is a luxury. Here, phones, cell phones, and car and home is part of living. You don't live as an American if you don't have those. In the Philippines, having a car is a luxury. But
Yeah.
are you loving your stay in the Philippines?
Yes, I am loving
Love
it
the
here.
food.
Yes, how did you know? The food is the best part. No, I love a lot of things about the Philippines. The people, the culture is very different, but I'm really appreciating it, enjoying it so much. So.
Okay, can you give us 3 traits or virtues that you makes Philippines or the Filipinos different than any parts of the world?
Sure. I would say that the number one thing is that they're laid back and more on the carefree side. And again, I don't want to box everyone into that, but if you look at culturally, they're not. When something happens, I don't see them freaking out or screaming at each other, getting.
Yeah.
They're just more relaxed. Okay, that happened, or they'll make a joke about it or something, and I'm like, really, that just happened, and you're joking about it? Wow, that's really, it's totally different from our
Exactly.
culture. Another one is
No, that's the good thing about being a Filipino. we are hurt, but you can still see us laughing and giggling, but deep inside us, we are hurt. Do not make fun that our house is burning or is burnt. You can sympathize with us. Do not make fun of us, even though it looks I am fine. Go ahead, Charisa.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Another one is the hospitality of the Filipinos. So especially from a foreigner's perspective, here you don't hear things like "go back to your country" or things. I mean, maybe someone has heard that before, but it's not the norm. So Filipinos are very generous to outsiders, not just foreigner outsiders, but even local people. If someone needs food, you can go to your neighbor and ask them if you can borrow something or get food from
Correct.
them, and or invite you over and just always eat together. And whereas in the U.S., it's not always the case, but you're a little more estranged to your neighbors. You're a little more careful. You want to, be. But anyway, so I really really appreciate the hospitality here, the generosity here. When they see people in need, they even if they just have so little, they want to give that.
Correct.
So it's. Yeah.
You love to be in the Philippines. I am curious, and the viewers are curious. I know you are so busy, you're so committed, and you're so active with human trafficking. But what do you do if you have a spare time? During your spare time, if ever you're doing anything aside from that?
I would say that what I do is my hobby, but also on the other side, I would say also I love to eat.
We all love to eat.
I love to try new foods and try different things. I like to travel, experience different cultures, meet new people. I like to network with different people, and to me that's fun. Also, I love a good movie as well.
That's good to know. That's good to know. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like for you to know that Charisa is actually wearing a Regeneration International t-shirt. Yeah. So she's very committed and she's very active as far as human trafficking. Can you give us the website if our viewers or any of our friends would like to donate to Regeneration to minimize or to eliminate human trafficking?
Sure. So there's a couple ways you can give through Venmo, which is also Regeneration International Inc. There's through online, our website, regenerationinternationalinc.com/donate.
Okay.
And then you can find us also on Facebook at, you can just go on the search bar and type in Regeneration International Inc. So you got to add that Inc. always. And you'll find us on.
You are very young. I consider you young. You are just like my daughter. I consider you as my daughter, my second daughter. Can you give us inspirational thought? Being so committed and active in human trafficking, can you give us some inspirational thought to keep us motivated? Those people who are, let's telling you, human trafficking is all over the world. Don't bother about it. You cannot solve that, Charisa. Can you give us something of those?
I think that there's one mistake that I've made before, which is to think that I will wait until someday when I have enough influence, resources, or money to try to do something. And I think my encouragement for you guys today is to, no matter what you have in your hands, no matter what's been given to you, even if it's so small, at least do something. And don't wait to start your dream someday when you think you'll have it all together, or you think you'll have all the resources. Just start your dream now, even if it's so small, even if it doesn't look the way you want it to look yet. But taking that first step is to where you want to go is the most important thing to do it. So.
Viewers, here you go. Charisa Stauffacher. I thank you for the short interview we're having today, and to all the Filipino people and to all the Americans who supported Regeneration International. At Global Inspiration, you want to add something, Charisa?
Thank you so much for letting me join me on the show.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. At Global Inspiration, you have to be seen, you have to be heard, and you be an inspiration in the world. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat.